With luck, trekking stubborn through this season of fatigue, I shall patch together a content of sorts. Miracles occur, if you care to call these spasmodic tricks of radiance miracles. The wait's begun again, the long wait for the angel, for that rare, random descent. Sylvia Plath, Black Rook in Rainy Weather. This is going to be a quite personal episode, but I am known for that over these past 7 years. I seriously considered making this one private, locked at Patreon and Substack, but after heavily carrying that burden around for far too long, ruminating as I am wont to do, I reminded myself that some of my loveliest reviews mention how much you guys like my being vulnerable and sharing my journey. So, here I am. Maybe I will eventually lock it if I feel strange about it being in the wild later. I shall see. So this is intended as the full catch-up I have been promising. So, where have I been? In a more symptomatic place than I've ever been, and with new diagnoses. I have to remind myself that using plain language about it does not mean I am faking, nor that I am attention-seeking, nor complaining. So, I am sicker than I have ever been on this, the 10th anniversary of my leaving work in an ambulance. I wish I had the opposite news, that I was improving, that we discovered the best medicine for these symptoms, or those symptoms, that my wheelchair has stabilized me to the point that I could return to part-time work as allowed by Social Security. The truth is that in the past year, I've lost weeks at a time to pain and vertigo, unable to rise from my bed, sometimes unable to even concentrate on reading, which, as you know, is my favorite thing. I'm working through the unwarranted shame of this by telling myself that this is precisely what Social Security disability is made for, that this is why I don't work. That helps, but not all of the time. As I talked about in episode 12, Dancing, Driving, and Pizza Hut, I was a ballet dancer for 13 years. All of my youth. Now, sometimes I have no grace left to even lie still, to sit. I hope I'm making sense. I have been feeling guilty about not having done this episode, about doing any episode, and I've been worrying about doing this to add to all the stress, so I might not be articulating myself completely clearly. Also, the language of chronic pain, truly unceasing physical pain, is a language that is customized to each person. It's a dark and private tongue that is difficult to translate when you're awkwardly blinking in the light and exchanging small talk niceties. Not only nuance is lost in translation when you can't move because shifting positions might take the 8 that you're already at on the pain scale to a 9, and you fear walking to the bathroom, which you've got to do, might take it to that mythical 10, supposedly mythical 10, but you don't want to tell anyone because that sounds overwrought and impossible. It really does feel like you're dying. I feel a lack. I hold my fingers up, 10 white pickets. See, the darkness is leaking from the cracks. I cannot contain it. I cannot contain my life. I shall be a heroine of the peripheral. I shall not be accused by isolate buttons, holes in the heels of socks, the white mute faces of unanswered letters, coffin in a letter case. I shall not be accused. I shall not be accused. The clock shall not find me wanting, nor these stars that rivet in place, abyss after abyss. Sylvia Plath, 3 Women. And when you're trying to write poetry in this dead, graceful language to express this new life of a decade, this new life of slowly needing help with things your clients once needed from you, and you stumble across people aping the symptoms of what ails you, of ehlers-danlos and POTS, for internet likes, so they could get Social Security, for medical attention, for some deep, dark need they can't quite articulate, they don't even know. Watching someone with factitious disorder, which was formerly known as Munchausen syndrome, pretend to be sick, it can steal your words. The communities of people that might support me online have been rendered uncomfortable to unsafe by people suffering from factitious disorder, who are in the autism part of TikTok, or in the POTS subreddit, just to garner attention and to get tips on how to fake more convincingly. I really wish I was making this up, telling you the beginning of some horror novel or a season of American Horror Story set in a hospital. But I'm not. And so that means that my world gets even smaller, so I can't commiserate or make new friends with shared experiences. I've been on the internet since the early 90s, since AOL and CompuServe, and even before IRC and Usenet. But this is the first time I've truly withdrawn from it because of all this. It's not all bad. I mean, not every day is like this. I'm mobile, and I'm reasonably self-sufficient today, and my mind feels clear, no fog in the forecast, and I just finished recording with Princess for By Pumpkin, and we had a great time talking about Teen Mom for 2 hours. So I have really good days. And in April, I was able to ride the train, as I told you last episode, using my new power wheelchair to Washington, D.C., to see my friend Wes buried at Arlington Cemetery, and to tour the National Cathedral for the first time. And may I recommend DC Yellow Cab? Uber and Lyft weren't ready for all this jelly, but DC Yellow Cab, with their easy-to-use app, had my back the entire visit. It was super cool, and it gave me a lot of hope. An SUV/van hybrid with the third seat removed would pick me up. I would drive up the ramp into the back, basically into the trunk, and get hooked up and hooked in, and off we'd go. I admittedly got car sick the first time, because I'm not, that wasn't cute, but I'm not used to riding in the way back. After that, I was fine, and I really grew to love being so independent again. It was really nice. Plus, I was able to take communion at the National Cathedral on Mary's Day, the feast day of the Annunciation, the day on which Mary learned and accepted her purpose. And now the cathedral's crypt, as I told you, is one of my happy places. As strange and bizarre as that sounds, I rolled around those quiet dark stones with Hosier's Dante album in my ears and felt more peaceful than I have in a great while. Now listen to Hosier's interpretation of Dante's journey from hell to heaven by Virgil's side. Serves as a relaxation tool. It takes you back to those glass and stones and dedication. And I've finally been able, as well, to see Romero's Dawn of the Dead on the big screen, as well as his Shawshank Redemption, and I'll fight anyone, as the saying goes, who says these aren't two perfect movies about the human condition. And it's always a pleasure to go to the movies at the Charlottesville Alamo Drafthouse because it's so accessible. If I choose to use the wheelchair seat, I just reserve it, and the seat that's in place is removed for me, and the space is ready for me to park. And it's an excellent seat. It's only 3 or 4 rows from the screen. It depends on the size of the theater that it's in. If I choose to sit on the front row, that's fine too. That's my option. I can use the safety rail to go down the shallow steps, and the recliners are very supportive and comfortable, and the staff don't mind if my husband parks my wheelchair in the far corner, out of everybody's way. Either way, I'm fully included, and that's the whole point of accessibility. And Mom and Dad have also moved in next door. You know how I've always said I live up on a mountain with no neighbors? Well, that's no longer true. And we're building a safe path so I can drive my chair from house to house. It's so nice to be easily able to see each other and to be able to easily assist each other like this. And the dogs love living so close to Grandma and Grandpa. I am also, slowly but surely, writing a horror novel with my wonderful friend, horror author Bob Ford. Hold on. Speaking of doggies, Arlo just said something. Sorry about that. Mr. Arlo reminded me that it was time for his medicine. He can tell time better than I can. Anyway. As I was saying, I am also slowly but surely writing a horror novel with my wonderful friend, Bob Ford, the horror author. That's hard to say. Horror author. It's quite hard to say with a southern accent. We're both really excited about it, but we're negotiating my health and his current projects at the moment. Because he's quite busy in the most wonderful way, but still. Still, we're over 20,000 words into our first draft, and we're both in love with it. I cannot wait until we can play with it in earnest and until we can share it with you. He will be my guest for my 100th episode, and he'll tell you all about what he's been working on, and it's really exciting. For now, I recommend reading some of his work. The God Beneath My Garden, if you're into short stories. Burner, if your taste runs to more intense horror. And The Dead Pennies, if your tastes are more mainstream. I'll link those books and his website and his YouTube channel in the show notes and in this episode's website entry. I definitely recommend his YouTube channel where he reads to you. Alright, back to the not so fun stuff. As far as symptoms worsening, this past year has been the most difficult. What was initially diagnosed as colitis has been recently discovered to be structural IBS, redundant colon, which sounds funnier than it is. Basically, EDS has contributed to my intestines outgrowing its container. So it's gangly and unwieldy, kind of like its owner, and all the grotesque problems with motility that might go along with that you can imagine have happened, and I will spare you details, I promise. I'll just say that it started last summer with food aversion and loss of appetite. I started becoming nauseous in response to television commercials showing food. It was that intense. Of course, because I've had an eating disorder, as I've shared with you, I had a deep and intense self-check. What is this? Is this disordered eating rearing its ugly head? Or is this autoimmune in nature? Is this physical? Is both? Is this all of a kind? I also had to make certain that I didn't allow these issues to feed into, please excuse the morbid pun, these past problems. And yeah. So I am still a year later on a bland and small diet. Boost High Protein drink has sustained me. I've lost 80 to 90 pounds this past year, depending on the day, because my weight fluctuates because I'm chronically ill, and I'll talk about that. I weigh at the most 100 pounds less than my highest weight. Weight is a very complicated issue for the chronically ill, because weight gain can be a symptom of our disorders, plus an added side effect from more than one of our medications pile on. So, for example, I desperately took prednisone diagnoses. Dosages. The judicial system. Sorry. I was talking about Dana Carvey's comedy routine the other day. Dosages. 10, 11, 12 years ago, in order to fight the wall of fatigue that was making it clear that I would have to stop working, probably stop driving as well, begging a rheumatologist again and again to help me stop dozing off as if I've been drugged. Steroid weight gain is no joke, and is quite the blow to the self-esteem. Those squishy round cheeks and that doubling chin are something else. And they strike vanity into the heart of the most humble. I don't care how secure you think you are in your looks. You look in the mirror and you see that squishy football head, you suddenly have feelings about the way you look. Whew. Then there's loss of mobility due to symptoms, which only makes the whole thing worse. Put on some weight. And then there's joint swelling and fluid retention due to symptoms and to medication side effects. And then there's something called exercise intolerance. Yay! Yes! With some chronic illnesses and disabilities, careful exercise is medicine. Absolutely. Not for some. And I am one of them, unfortunately, thanks to POTS. My system doesn't know how to regulate for movement and temperature. I'm like a really sensitive car. You know, I'm like an expensive but stupid car to own. So I'm like cute on the outside and a wreck on the inside. Really fancy, and it's going to take a month to fix, and we don't know if we can fix it. Just... So, gentle working out can be a disaster. I mean gentle working out. How bad is it? This one time at band camp, sorry. I had to lighten the mood to prove I'm not grandstanding or complaining. But it's really that bad. Because this one time, I fainted at physical therapy while doing supervised stretching against the wall. Supervised stretching against the wall. I was unable to fully recover, and I had to go to the hospital for supervised stretching against the wall. Man, it was so embarrassing. It's embarrassing to tell you this. I went down on wall stretches, being supervised by a professional. So much for ballet. Ballet is burnt out. So all of the above should tell you that huge wall my body has fought through in order to lose this huge amount of weight so quickly this year is massive. I had to make that point. Wall. So, redundant colon. Especially with the added spiciness of the damaged collagen brought on by ehlers-danlos, giving it just some extra stretch. Sorry for that visual. It's affecting other organs. It pushes on my bladder, even on the bottom of my lungs at times. And that was a spooky CT scan result. I did not like it. Would not recommend, would not do again. And anytime anything like this happens, my immune system tries to help. You know, like Minnie Mouse. Here comes to save the day. And here comes the fever and the high levels of pain. And I can't podcast, and I can't read. And round we go with the shame and the guilt and the beating myself up. And it causes worse inflammation and so on, and I gotta get off this ride. So, I'm grateful for the weight loss. Because of course it's less pressure on my joints and my body as a whole, which will help improve the intensity of my symptoms overall. And it's lovely being the size I was in college again, I have to admit. But it hasn't been fun doing it the hard way. And I miss really enjoying food. I like food. That part is getting a little better as I've become less afraid to try to eat this food or that food. Less afraid of the aftermath, not fit to choose finest spin on it. Again, no details. I am determined to keep my digestive system working. So I gotta eat. See, that's a real danger for people with EDS. It's called gastroparesis. It's where the stomach stops emptying properly and it freezes. It stops. It paralyzes. If I don't eat, my system just might close up shop. And things could get more than dicey. Paralyzed. That scares me just thinking about it. So every 3 hours or so something goes down my gullet, along with lots of water and Gatorade, whether I like it or not. So, regimen, alarms on my phone, lots of regimen. So one more thing that's happened health-wise in the past year that sounds super serious, but has actually been a blessing. Yes, we're getting cheerful again. Because it has helped me put my life in order and helped me understand myself. Confession. Start with the confession. And this is rough because I have rarely, if ever, said this aloud to anyone. Or even typed it. I have always felt like everyone else has been given a rule book for life that I didn't receive. That there was this unspoken understanding of how to just do stuff that I have just not been privy to. Oh God, I said it. Okay. I have just always been a little out of step. On an everyday basis. At work, with friends, just in general. People would just give each other side glances when I spoke or when I asked questions, as if I should have known the answer without asking. I would do as I was told at work or school and get in trouble, formally or informally. I would verify that I did precisely as instructed, and then I'd get in trouble, so to speak, either officially or socially, for asking. It's exhausting. I've just always felt like I was in a play that I joined mid-production, off script, and I was expending every single bit of my energy to keep up with all the other people and not to let anyone down on the crew or the cast. All the time. In other words, life kind of felt like a stress dream. All the time. I can't believe I'm saying this. All the time. At least when I was around other people. I never questioned it, because I'm introverted, highly sensitive, was an incredibly shy child, as I've said in the podcast before, and have always seen and accepted myself as socially awkward. So I just thought all of the above was par for the course, right? You know, I do my best work in solitude, right? And I'm just weird. I'm just eccentric, right? Not quite. I'm autistic. There. That's done. I found this out at age 52. Our culture loves to talk about curing and preventing autism. But listen to me. It's really just a different operating system. Most of y'all listening run on Windows and Mac. And my brain runs on Linux. The only trick is, I didn't know. And I kept trying to run Windows and Mac programs and utilities. And so did other people. Tried to force them on me. And no one wants to eradicate Linux. It's highly robust. You just can't expect it to run Minesweeper. And if that reference right there doesn't convince you I'm autistic, I don't know what to tell you. There are negatives to being autistic, just as there are negatives to being left-handed or being farsighted. I'm hypersensitive to repetitive sounds and bright lights. I experience them as systemically painful, not just as annoying. And if I'm sensorially overwhelmed or emotionally or physically depleted, I need to reboot myself. Time in a quiet, dimmer place where I control all the stimulus. Otherwise, I feel panicky. I manage this in public with earplugs that allow me to dim noise but still participate in life around me. The company Loop has some great ones. I'll put a link in the show notes. And noise-canceling headphones. Tinted eyeglasses are great for our culture's insistence upon overhead fluorescent lighting, which I can actually hear as well as see. Trust me. I can hear them. I can feel them in my skin. I also know that I want and need certain comfort items with me in public. My favorite pen, my commonplace notebook, this book or that book, my water bottle. I pack my purse very carefully when I go out in the world. The same as you do, just with much more attention to detail and probably thinking more about preventing problems than maybe just needing a Band-Aid or a safety pin. I used to do this in middle school to avoid that awkward, I don't know the social rules feeling. I would read during liminal times, on the bus before class started, and I would bring 2 or 3 books with me to school sometimes just to feel safe because I read so quickly. And plus, we had a long country bus ride, and the idea of finishing my book and, you know what, felt unsafe, untethered. Never mind that I had known almost all of these kids since kindergarten. Even if I talked to them, I needed the books in my hand as an option and a comfort. An out. A reminder that I was okay, and I knew what I was doing. So there I was, 12-year-old me, carting 2 or 3 paperbacks around to every class. And that's the thing about this diagnosis. It makes all of that. Imagine my waving Kermit flappy arms around to encompass everything I've said. Makes sense. It makes it make sense that I freaked my parents out because I like to be alone and work on projects in the summers, while everyone else was at the pool in each other's houses. It makes it make sense that I didn't get the fork in the road joke in the Muppet movie, as well-read and intelligent as I was. And by the way, it explains why I spontaneously started reading before the age of 2. The phenomenon of hyperlexia isn't fully understood, but it is seen in some autistic children. This showed itself in my vocabulary as well, which was sometimes quite funny, because it would greatly outreach my maturity. For example, I would ask for something to drink by saying, very dramatically, "Mommy, I am so dehydrated." Good Lord. I must have been more than a handful if you combine the extreme shyness and sensitivity with the vocabulary and book smarts of Charles Wallace Murray. It also makes it make sense that the slightest hint of rejection would privately break my heart, no matter the source. She is deferring to reality. It is I, tasting the bitterness between my teeth, the incalculable malice of the everyday. Sylvia Plath, 3 Women. I now have a name for that. Rejection sensitivity dysphoria. And some people with autism also experience it like I do. I now have the tools to deal with it, to not fear lack of communication, to not mind read, to not procrastinate because I might not finish the task perfectly, to not be highly agreeable, to not be so self-conscious it hurts my skin. It also makes my info dumping, ergo this podcast, make sense. It's a love language for me. If I care about you, one way I show it is, here, I have a bunch of exciting facts and research about this thing that I love, and I'm giving it to you. Yes, Bob, this is me putting context to my random Bougereau texts. You're welcome. Nothing says I love you like a core info dump, in my opinion. I have been told by several different individuals that the 2 television characters I most resemble are Rupert Giles, from Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Mr. Arcane Information Librarian himself, and Dr. Spencer Reed from Criminal Minds, who I believe is supposed to be autistic coded, and now it all makes sense. And I feel so much more comfortable being myself. I have this new language with which to speak about myself. I understand why I'm getting flustered over something I quote-unquote shouldn't be. It's that my system is getting overloaded and I need a quiet moment. I feel much freer to enthuse joyfully over things that interest me. What you call a rabbit hole, I call Tuesday afternoon. I have a personal documentation system. I guess you'd call it a personal wiki. Using the software Notion, set up as a second brain, and I'm constantly adding to it. I live in it. I told you 7 years ago, going into this podcast, that just like Harriet the Spy, I want to learn everything and write it all down. Now I feel much more joy and abandon in doing so, because I know that's not just eccentricity, but that my brain needs and thrives upon doing so. It's food for my soul. And so I shall, even more, wide open. And I'm much less self-conscious, as you can see, making fun of myself. Now that I know that I don't know how unspoken social niceties work, that sometimes I don't quite know how to people, and it's okay. But that I know how to people a lot better than I think I do. Now that I know what that nagging stress dream feeling was, I am free just to be my eccentric, awkward, weird self. I know that I'm kind and polite, and that I'm not running over anyone's toes with my wheelchair or my behavior, and that's all I can ask or expect of myself. So, anniversary. 10 years ago, on August 12th, I got up, I made coffee, I chose a professional yet comfortable outfit, and I headed to the office with no idea that it would be the last time. It was a rough morning. I was devastated upon awaking to learn that Robin Williams, one of my heroes, had died. I still haven't quite processed that fully, as tied in together with my leaving work as it is. That sounds selfish and self-absorbed. I don't mean it that way, but it truly burnt my heart, and I compartmentalized it so I could go to work. And within hours, I was in the hospital. So, I like to think he's on sabbatical. The happiest, most joyful sabbatical ever. I like to picture his cavorting somewhere. Maybe that's what heaven is. If anyone deserves to cavort for eternity, it's Robin. So, I worked for a couple of hours, and then I began to feel distant from myself. I had a cardiac event, which is a broad term for something not good that is not a heart attack, I think. My heart rate began to climb rapidly, and pot symptoms started doing their weird stuff in response that I dissociated. So that's why I just describe it as distant. Because my memory of the rest of the day is as if I'm underwater. I remember suddenly thinking I needed help, but I had no idea why. There wasn't any particular pain or wooziness. It just something was wrong. I knew I would need my medications list, so I logged into my patient portal and I printed it out. I calmly walked to the fax and printer room and grabbed it, walked back to my office, logged out of the portal, and swimmingly pondered my next step. My neighbors were the safety officer for the building and one of our nurses. The safety officer was out, so the nurse it was. I was detached, so I must have been dissociating. Clutching the med list, I went to her doorway, and I think I just stood there. I remember her saying to someone that I looked like I'd seen a ghost. The next moments are a blur. More people enter her office. Someone made me sit down. Someone made me eat baby aspirin. I'm cold. Then I'm in the ambulance. My blood pressure is stupidly high, and I'm stupidly impressed with the number, like I'm high. Someone makes me eat nitro. Then I'm in a hospital room. I don't remember the ER at all. It all feels and looks like it's underwater from the time I took my paper off the printer, and I really don't remember anything else. I know they ran lots of tests. I don't remember any of them. And I never returned to work in any form. I can't work. You see how much trouble I have just podcasting. It took all day to write this script, and I had to stop for chest pains, which pissed me off. And then I meant to record this the day after the anniversary, the 13th, and I am now recording it on the 17th, which pissed me off. I often have to remind myself, this is why you're disabled, stop it, or I'll rabbit hole myself right into feeling worse than I already do. I have the mind of the Carla that used to create and research or read or write for 12 solid hours, and it's in a damaged body. Hell, I haven't even been knitting this summer. That's how sick I've been. So I need to cut myself some major slack. I'm learning how to do this. Over and over and over. So, it's my anniversary. I feel really weird about it. I keep saying weird, but this is such a fraught episode that I'm cutting myself a lot of slack on vocabulary as well. I feel weird. Okay? I really am at a loss of words. Oh God, it's weird. I was off kilter and out of sorts all day on the 12th. Extra sensitive to stimuli. I really wanted to write and record this episode on that day, but I had to give myself permission not to do that. Again, knowing I'm autistic helps so much. Before, I would have been beating myself up with shame, and I might have forced myself to do it. Now, I extend grace, and it makes perfect sense to me. Not being able to quite name this feeling I'm sitting with is part of autism for me. For a long while, it was just my saying I felt, quote, out of sorts, and not knowing exactly what that meant, except that I felt really unsettled in my body and emotionally upset at the same time. Therapist, heal thyself, right? Everything really has come full circle. Reminding myself about tools I used at work and theories I learned about in school is helping me support myself to be as healthy as possible, such as the emotions wheel, which was originally developed by Dr. Gloria Wilcox, a marriage and family therapist. The idea is that there's only a few primary emotions at the heart of everything, to which all other emotions are related. And they're anger, sadness, happiness, surprise, and disgust. And that everything else we feel is a secondary or tertiary emotion. And if we can just get down to and name the primary emotion at what we're feeling's base, we can better get in touch with what's going on with us in the moment. It's also a marvelous tool to use to expand your own emotional vocabulary. Thanks to my psychology and counseling degrees, I do have a wide emotional vocabulary, but it tends to go right out of my mind sometimes when I'm under distress. And all I find myself with is out of sorts, upset, and the real kicker, I don't know. No one's resolving anything with any of those, especially not, I don't know. This wheel is the image for this episode, and I'll include it in the website entry for the show. Gonna deep dive for a minute, because this is what I went to school for, and psychology is a special interest of mine, and for an autistic, this is my podcast. Hang on, it'll be brief, and hopefully interesting. Bear with me. You can work with the wheel by going in either direction, going outward to get more specific, or going inwards to drill down to what primary emotion is driving your feelings. For example, I was talking about rejection sensitivity dysphoria. Say I'm worried about a terse response I received. Terse, as perceived by me, that is, not actually terse. It made me feel the sense of emptiness. Again, this feeling of being, quote, out of sorts. That feeling is actually on the wheel as a tertiary feeling. Go in, that's labeled as depression. True, those feelings are there, and I need to sit with them. The primary emotion, of course, would be sadness. So I can claim the feeling and process it and comfort myself properly instead of treating it like boredom or listlessness or otherwise numbing my feelings. In another case of such, I start with sadness, but I want to know exactly what's being triggered. What's going on with this perceived and not at all real rejection? Above sadness, I can see the word abandoned. It's a bit strong of a word for this feeling and situation. I don't feel abandoned, but it's in the ballpark. So I'm intrigued, and it won't hurt to follow it. And when I do, it leads to ignored, which is so much more helpful for sorting out my thoughts and feelings in my mind, maybe in my journal, than sad. Because I know I'm not being ignored. My brain wiring is lying to me again. See, now I have tools. I never thought 10 years ago when I was managing care that I would have my own social worker now, that I would have Medicaid, Medicare, and Social Security. Funny how things work out. I miss my own little cozy office, and I miss very much helping people for a living and using my master's degree. But I feel like I'm more myself now than I ever have been in my entire life. I don't completely understand that one, but it's true. I've grown into myself somehow. I've included episode 12 at the end of this episode since it's so relevant. It was my first looking back at the things I miss and the things that had changed. Before I go, and that episode starts, I want to share one vivid memory of not understanding figures of speech. I went through this period in elementary school of not asking when I didn't understand something I read, because I was so advanced, I figured if I didn't get it, I was supposed to, so let's just keep it moving. I over-anticipated the embarrassment I might feel were I to ask. Autistic thinking, because I was a kid and therefore not supposed to know stuff. You know, I didn't give myself grace for being a kid. I was reading a Nancy Drew novel. This is so vivid. I was reading a Nancy Drew novel, and Nancy had a train. Nancy had a train on her formal or semi-formal dress. You probably see where this is going. I could still hold the ridiculous and now very funny image in my mind that I had then. I stopped reading. I looked up from the book. I was lying on the carpet in my room. I thought to myself, why would she want the image of a train printed down the side of her dress? That sounds hideous. And went back to reading the novel. I could literally hear my little kid trouble voice in my head sounding so fussy and judgy, like a little Real Housewife. I remember it like it happened yesterday. Yes, I used the word hideous. I was probably in second grade or so, if not first grade. I was a tiny adult, and now I'm an adult child. Autism, baby. And that's why you listen to me, folks. My bizarre brain is the gift that keeps on giving. It's what I do. I know things, I look at things from a weird angle, and I love sharing them. Stay tuned for a rerun of episode 12. Driving, Dancing, and Pizza Hut. My first exploration of how my life had changed, and what I had to give up. And know that I've missed talking to you a very great deal. I recorded with Princess for her show By Pumpkin before recording this episode. We talked for 2 hours about the explosive beginning of Teen Mom, Young and Pregnant, and it was a whole lot of fun as always. I'm always honored to receive that invite. So come listen to a woman in her 50s with no children talk about young women having babies, because that sounds like a plan. That's what reality TV dreams are made of. I gotta find my cupcakes where I can. And so I walk away on wheels instead of legs. They serve as well. The body is resourceful. The body of a starfish can grow back its arms, and newts are prodigal in legs, and may I be as prodigal in what lacks me. Sylvia Plath, 3 Women. I am not what has happened to me. I am what I choose to become. Carl Jung. Hi, this is Carla, and welcome to episode 12 of There Might Be Cupcakes, Driving, Dancing, and Pizza Hut. Today's episode is special to me because I'm letting you into my world a lot more deeply than I have this far. I'm going to share with you my journey from becoming an average workaday person, a therapist, a mental health case manager, a person just like you who could choose to go somewhere and hop in the car, for whom a headache was a bad day, into the me I'm still becoming, semi-housebound, chronically ill, always in physical pain, disabled woman. The title comes from conversations I've had throughout the last couple of years with family and my best friend Joshua. It's the short list of what I miss most as a gluten-free, loose-jointed person with chronic pain, fatigue, and brain fog. Driving, dancing, and Pizza Hut. A huge part of this journey, as you might suspect, has involved books and reading. So before we begin unpacking all of this, because yes, I've never done this before today, let me thank my sponsor Audible and suggest your choice for a free book with your free trial. It's one I'm going to quote today. Yes, Please, by Amy Poehler, narrated by Amy. It's her own unpacking of her journey, and listening to her read to me helped me laugh through my morning and to make some difficult, important decisions. You can snag it as your free book by signing up for a free trial at Audible at audibletrial.com/mightbecupcakes. And thank you. Most of this episode will be my sharing my friends-only posts on Facebook, i.e. things I've only shared with my friends before now. I'm starting before I found out anything was wrong, and was still planning upon becoming pregnant, seeing a fertility doctor, and undergoing tests. See, that's how I found out something was seriously wrong with my immune system. So you will get to see that I have not always remembered that there might be cupcakes if I just keep trying and moving and persevering. There were also times when I didn't even care about the damn cupcakes. For all I ever wanted to be was a mom. I famously told my parents at the breakfast table, around the age of 2, that I knew I wanted children. They encouraged this random cute thought and kept eating. Pause. But I don't think I want to get married, toddler me finished thoughtfully. And Dad nearly choked on his waffle. As I've said before, parenting me must have been interesting. The reason I mention pregnancy and parenthood is because it all ties into my becoming sicker and sicker and finally disabled and not a parent. Directly ties into. I first found out, as you will see, that there was something seriously wrong with my immune system thanks to my fertility doctor. May 8th, 2011. Hopefully next Mother's Day I will be a mom. Until then, I'm a dog mama, the proud mom of Arlo the Chucklehead and Ellie the Demanding. October 22nd, 2011. Thanks to my doctor's visit on Thursday, my ability to succeed at IVF went from fair to good to excellent, We were able, thanks to Mom, to connect my general health issues, as well as specific fertility-related issues, to my brother's health problems. Maybe this is the only way it could have gone. You didn't get the quest you wanted, you got the one you could do. That was the hard part, accepting that you didn't get to choose which way you went. Lev Grossman, The Magician King. As I believe I've mentioned before, my brother Eric had Addison's disease, which is also not an immune disorder, and he developed it in the womb, which is highly unusual. As you can see from what I wrote, I only looked at the good side. Now we have a reason I'm infertile. Insurance will pay for IVF. Here we go. Now we know what's wrong. I hate the unknown, INFJ. And not the bad side, namely that my fallopian tubes looked like they'd been attacked by a cheese grater. Literally. And that cheese grater was my body. And that this meant that I was likely very, very sick. I dealt with the fatigue and the aches and pains and the diagnosis of rheumatoid arthritis and the wooziness that started to show up, and I focused on this quest of fertility and on postgraduate counseling schoolwork and my job as an intensive in-home counselor with youth and their families, which was physically and emotionally grueling, and which I could conveniently blame for my increasing symptoms. So in this period between 2011 and 2013, I was diagnosed, incorrectly it turned out, with rheumatoid arthritis, and I took a whole lot of steroid injections and oral steroids to try to keep going, especially with regards to work. That's one very important lesson being chronically ill has taught me. When going and trying and every effort has not worked, perhaps your next step is to be still. I finally got an office job, and I was spending less time on the road. Some, but much, much less. Then the gut pain started. And after ping-ponging from the emergency room to my doctor, to my gynecologist, to a specialist, I had to face facts. There would be no baby, and this was not rheumatoid arthritis, because it was not responding to RA medications. I was much sicker than I thought or admitted, and I was infertile. December 2nd, 2013. I have fibroids, both inside and outside my uterus. The ER doctor referred me to a specialist to explore surgery options. I am in a lot of pain. Please keep praying for me. I love you. But here's why I always say there might be cupcakes. This next event happened after a grueling 12 hours or so in the emergency room, probably 6 of those in pain waiting to be seen. December 6, 2013. I have to brag on my dad. Larry and I arrived home yesterday from the ER at 4 a.m. Waiting for us, leaning against the side of the house, was a lovely Christmas tree, wrapped up and waiting to be installed in its new home. It was something out of a movie. Carlos Pettigrew is the best dad. December 15th, 2013. If it weren't for my ability to lose myself in book after book, this pain would have unbalanced me by now. That's more unbalanced than I already am, Peanut Gallery. Going back to bed, hiding under the covers with my book. And so I read, and I grieved, and I worked when I was able, and I tried to do everything until I admitted I could do nothing, and surrender to the season of Advent, which is one of rest and waiting. December 27th, 2013. My body has never been more damaged, more ill. My mind and spirit have never been more whole, more at peace. Let my intestines and my immune system rage. My soul is at peace. For the first time, I fully know who I am, and I love her. I am she who flowers from her wounds. Countess Marburg, Salem. And then my digestive tract wanted more attention. This was a period when Crohn's disease was on the table because, well, let's put it this way, nothing in my torso was playing ball. That's just the nice way to put it. So those tests began. January 15th, 2014. A clear liquid diet sounds like fun, said no one ever. And then the partial hysterectomy in April. I've been told that that's not how doctors refer to it. But that's how the surgeon referred to it, and that was the result. Commenced the hormones. In the midst of the still unmanaged fatigue, wooziness, free-floating constant body pain, digestion issues, and now strange bouts of forgetfulness and confusion. Are you not entertained? May 19th, 2014. Pro tip. If you're ever offered the opportunity to experience accelerated early menopause, just say no. And then the judging started. June 9th, 2014. I did not realize that emotional pain is quantifiable, measurable, and graded on a worthiness scale. Good to know. Continue to share your heart with people, even if it's been broken. Amy Poehler, yes please. And then there was the carpal tunnel and tennis elbow, both in my dominant arm. Entrenched, boo, we live here now. Carpal tunnel and a tennis elbow. I honestly think the ehlers-danlos was like, bitch, do I have to dislocate your hip to get your attention? You know, diva disorder. July 28th, 2014. Receiving that injection into my wrist today might be the most frightening thing I have ever done. I just might be a badass. And then it happened. I had a cardiac episode at work. That's what I call it. It was EDS and probably early POTS, which is an associated postural cardiac disorder. It's often associated with EDS that I now also have. Yay. But I was still misdiagnosed at the time, so we got the condition right, which is costochondritis, but not the reason. I remember sitting at my desk and starting to feel really strange. Disassociated from myself almost. That feeling increased as all the normal symptoms increased, accompanied by racing heartbeat and chest pain. Thinking took real effort, like I had to individually push each word out. And I remember thinking, okay, my office is next door to the safety officer and a nurse. Those are both sound options for help. I need to get my list of medications, and then I will go to whichever one of them is available. And that's what I did. Just completely in a fog, I logged into my patient portal, I printed my meds list, and I went to Tracy, the nurse next door. By then, I felt so confused and distant from everything around me that I just stood in her doorway and handed her the meds list. Apparently, I looked as if I'd seen a ghost, because she went from, hey, to 911 with nothing in between. I remember chewing baby aspirin. I remember coworkers telling me to breathe slowly. And I remember being in the ambulance and my top blood pressure being almost 200. I think it was 190. I never saw my cute little office that I was so proud of again. Costochondritis is basically what I describe in this next Facebook entry. Every place one of your ribs meets a part of your body is actually a separate joint, and therefore is a possible place of inflammation. Well, with ehlers-danlos, my collagen is defective, and collagen is crucial at the joints. Yes. Okay. Well, with ehlers-danlos, my collagen is defective, and collagen is crucial at the joints. So my joints are loose and don't work right, and you get the picture. It really does feel like a heart attack, even without the racing heartbeat and brain fog. And yes, it still happens regularly. I have a pain cream specifically made for it to apply to my chest and sternum, made from really powerful drugs that my insurance would not pay for me to put in my mouth, and that would stupefy me if I did. But luckily, I don't wish to be stupefied. I just don't want to feel like I'm having a heart attack. Yay, compound pain cream. August 15th, 2014. Wednesday, I was admitted to the hospital. I am now home wearing a heart monitor. I had to be given nitro in the ambulance. I think my top blood pressure number was 190. I don't remember much. I have a severe kidney infection, an equally raging bladder infection, and an accelerated irregular heartbeat. The hospital doctor says the RA is inflaming the joints of my sternum and rib, squeezing my heart cavity, and making my heart beat too fast and unevenly. Resting. Scared and in pain, but resting. August 20th, 2014. I don't know what's going to happen today when I see the doctor, but whatever it is, I have two choices. I can either fear it or embrace it. I choose the latter. 3:45 today. Send me prayers, mojo, and love. If you can surf your life rather than plant your feet, you will be happier. Amy Poehler. Yes, please. One thing that I learned really quickly is that I had better invent a new social life for myself, because chronic illness is not only lonely, it's isolating. August 29th, 2014. The only people I have seen in person for 16 days are family members and medical personnel. That's more than a little weird. But then again, so am I. Looking forward to being sprung from medical leave. And I never know when it's okay to talk about my daily life and when that's complaining or too much information. See, your daily life is probably working kids in traffic. All valid stress, normalized stress. My daily life is medicine and insurance squabbles and having difficulty with washing or brushing my hair. Yeah, on a really bad day. That's my work in traffic. But it doesn't translate that way to other people, not to everybody. And I learned that lesson really quickly. September 4th, 2014. I worry that people think I'm making a lot out of painful and stiff joints, that they hear arthritis, and don't understand that it's attacking my body, my whole body. I'm trying to balance reaching out to my loved ones without alienating y'all. But the truth is, I cannot get myself out of the recliner or lift a jug of milk right now. And this flare-up started with an averted coronary event, thanks to my quick-thinking coworkers. I hope I can say things like this without sounding like I'm feeling sorry for myself. And I hope you know that you can ask me questions or say something if you think I might be getting depressed or self-absorbed, or you wonder what's going on with me. Honesty is a huge part of love. I love you if you're reading this. I don't want to be too much trouble, but I don't want to avoid being too much trouble by hiding my feelings or the true extent of my illness. I hope you understand. And if you don't, that's okay too. Other people are not medicine. Amy Poehler. Yes, please. October 22nd, 2014. Ugh. 1 week into weaning off Plaquenil. Spoon's level very, very low. Woozy stupid from very high inflammation. This is a whole lot of nope. Plaquenil was one of the things keeping me upright. One of the only things. But new doctor said no more, so detox it is. That was some freaky detox. Me, useless in the bed and miserable with my Kindle. My Kindle is a lifesaver as far as assistive devices go. It really is an assistive device to me. I can only support a physical book without distress and pain on a good day with my hands, and not for long. Plus, sometimes I suffer from blurry vision, and with my Kindle, I can just crank up the font size, change the color and the contrast, whatever my poor eyes need. November 13th, 2014. I miss my independence and my coworkers. It is surreal that I've not driven a car since August. Sorry, not being cleared to return to work has me feeling a little Charlie Brown tonight. I kind of knew, just this gut certainty, that I was disabled. No return to work for me. But it hadn't been decided by the powers that be yet. This was definitely an Advent season of sitting with uncertainty. That had been an extremely difficult, and now appreciated, lesson for me to learn. We INFJs fear the unknown when it comes to stuff like that. I couldn't just be in the moment and take care of myself, not knowing if I was going back to work or not. That was a lesson that I repeated every single day until I got it. And it took many, 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 many days. Getting found almost always means being lost for a while. Anne Lamott. Thank God for my dachshund Ellie. In the worst moments of physical or emotional pain, sometimes all I had left to do was lie there and feel her comforting presence next to me. Just that pressure in the bed next to me, encouraging me towards the next minute. December 5th, 2014. An ode to my stubborn nursemaid shadow, to that tune of that Christmas song that you know. It's beginning to look a lot like a dachshund everywhere I go. She's the best nurse that I've got, whether I like it or not, in my own sweet home. It's beginning to look a lot like a dachshund everywhere I go. Deliberately singing off key. Following me, you see, monitoring me in my own Sweet home, that was dreadful. December 12th, 2014. Okay, verdict and update. No structural or nerve damage in my arm, so no surgery needed. Doctor says his findings point towards the primary or added diagnosis of fibromyalgia. 4th round of antibiotics since August started. Don't like. You know your pain is officially intractable when your PCP offers you a new oxy prescription without your having to ask. Next rheumatologist appointment is next Thursday. Until then, I just need to rest, do my physical therapy exercises, and enjoy the Christmas lights. And keep up the hope. Love you guys. That's not just the oxy drugs talking. That's right. Carpal tunnel and tennis elbow were still a problem. Yes, it had been a year and a half. December 19th, 2014. Part of my life just ended. I am no longer a working mental health professional due to my prognosis. My employer held my position for 4 months after I left my building in an ambulance, and I will always be grateful for that. I knew this would happen. Either I would act or they would. It isn't safe or ethical for someone with my impairments to take management of someone else's mental health needs. But knowing something so painful will happen and having it happen are two different things. I will miss my coworkers so much. Please know I love you. I don't want to leave, and I was so proud of my little office. Thank you, Lee, Erica, and Kara. I have never been more proud to be a member of a team. That was the best year of my work life. It really was. You all make certain the next employee in Office 131A at Landover knows what cheerful, goofy shoes they have to fill. Please say goodbye at team meeting and to the front desk and county offices for me. And don't be strangers, please. I send you the willingness to sit with any pain and watch it melt and change shape as you soften. Sark. December 31st, 2014. 2014 was the most difficult year of my adult life. I welcome 2015, but I wouldn't trade this year for anything. Thank you all for supporting me through this year of illness and change. I look forward to continuing to share the journey with you. Happy New Year. Perhaps this is the moment for which you have been created. The Book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 14. January 3rd, 2015. Fibro equals clumsy disease. Ehlers-danlos equals clumsy disease. So I am klutz squared. Disordered balance plus hypermobile joints plus rainy day. I am going to take myself or someone else out like the dog in A Fish Called Wanda if I don't just sit really still today. Can someone make me a bubble wrap Snuggie, please? January 24th, 2015. I just saw a snippet of Cake, Jennifer Aniston's new movie about chronic pain. Her character walked through a pharmacy, and she walked just like I do on a bad day. Just seeing my pain depicted so accurately in her careful but disjointed gait brought tears to my eyes. I love Aniston so much for pursuing this project. Please go see it if you're able. I cannot express how much this movie means to me. Just seeing myself depicted on screen, seeing how carefully Jennifer Aniston researched chronic intractable pain, moved me so much and gave me so much hope. There's this scene at the beginning of the movie that encapsulates everything I'm talking about. Her character arrives home in a cab, and she hesitates before getting out with this pained face. But it's the nuance there that's everything to me, in this long hesitation. She's gearing herself up to move because she knows it's going to hurt so badly, but she's also gearing herself up for the possible shame. What if this damn cab driver asks me if I need help? What if I get stuck or fall and he doesn't help me? What if I embarrass myself by crying out in pain? Now imagine having to deal with all that internally every time you get out of your Uber. The movie inspired me so much that I created a knitting project for myself, Project Cake Sweater. See, I hadn't been able to knit since I left work in the ambulance. And her character wears 2 comfort cardigans in the film. The first is when she's refusing to take care of herself, and it is as funky and nasty as you think. She sleeps in it. She refuses to take it off, period. It's funky. And it is a badge of anger. It's a barrier between her and the world. But the second, when she's learning that, well, there might be cupcakes still, she wears it as not armor against the world, but strictly for comfort. I'll post the project, which I documented on a Pinterest board, in more detail, with photos of the completed sweater, on the website. This sweater is the very first thing I was able to knit after my body completely shut down on me in August of 2014. The fatigue and the extreme hand pain combined wouldn't allow it. So it's not just a comfort, it's a triumph. February 11th, 2015. Important life choice has been made. I may at some point require assistive devices for long sojourns. A wheelchair, a walker. If I do, I am going to attack that thing with a glue gun and steampunk it out. There, I feel better now that that's decided. March 4th, 2015. Hide your kids, hide your wives. I'm out in public today. Blood draw, bookstore, then physiatrist. March 18th, 2015. I think medical specialists forget that patients are not asking for audience with the king or queen. I pay you, you deliver service and treatment. See how that works? Dramatically goes back to bed. Seriously, you wouldn't believe how often this happens. A specialist will actually question a referral. Now, why did you think you needed to see me? Or, I don't think we need to make this appointment. Or they will shuttle you off to a physician's assistant without telling you. I don't remember which lovely professional this was, and I'm kind of glad I don't. Lost to the sands of time. Begone, O arrogant one. Oh. March 23rd, 2015. Synovial ultrasound finally scheduled. April 27th at UVA. Yay! Autocorrect initially turned that into Synovial Unleashing, which is my new hardcore dubstep band name. April 10th, 2015. Headed to the pain doctor this morning. New doctor, so I'm nervous she'll dismiss my needs into concerns. I need this help. Send good thoughts and prayers. April 10th, 2015, later that day. 2 blessings today. The best doctor's appointment I have ever had. 2 hours with the doctor, 2 new anti-inflammatory medications, and a custom PAM anti-inflammatory cream being created at a local pharmacy's lab. Follow up in 1 month after the synovial ultrasound, and full med dosage has been achieved. Also, DHEA levels, white blood cells, and endocrine system checked, awaiting those test results. So yes, Dr. India Stutzman is amazing, wonderful, unjaded specialist, better than I can hope for. Also, this wonderful gift arrived from my sweet friend Karen. More shiny tools to work on art journaling and creating my woman merit badges. I'm certain I earned one today and shall be creating it with my new pens. I feel loved, validated, and very, very hopeful. Hi, Karen. Thank you. Love you. As for those woman badges, they'll probably come up in a later episode, but basically, to encourage myself as I went along, I started making grown-up Girl Scout badges in my art journal for achievements I had to make that my average friend didn't have to make. Like, making that synovial ultrasound appointment, fighting my way through it, things like that. I'll have to scan them in so I can share them with you. April 22nd, 2015. Everybody here either has the creeping crud or is recovering from it, and so they're all avoiding me. Rightfully so, but because my immune system will take that creeping crud and, like magic, produce bronchitis and or pneumonia. Good times. I appreciate the protection, but I have no playmates. I need one of those big hamster balls for humans, the inflatable ones, so I can safely go amongst the germy family, friends, and public, and also not hurt my hypermobile joints. Ooh, I smell a Kickstarter campaign. Screw a wheelchair, I want a hamster ball. This next entry was triggered by an article online. A woman with an invisible disability, which is what chronic pain is in all its forms, had parked in her rightful handicap parking spot and returned to find this note on her windshield. Being fat and ugly doesn't count as disabled. Park elsewhere. May 6, 2015. I am looking into getting a disabled decal for our car, just in case I need it. The effects of fibromyalgia and EDS are unpredictable. I might have the spoons to walk into a store or restaurant with only a slight limp from my damaged knee, so I might just look like a plus-size chick, not sick, just average. You would leave a nasty note and leave, feeling justified and satisfied in defending the social order, not seeing me return from the outing, barely able to walk, either limp with fatigue or pain or both. I've seen reports of these notes about once a week lately, lots of them. When I get my disabled parking permit, I'm also going to get a chronic pain or chronic illness awareness decal, or 3, for the car as well. I have come too far in this grief process to be slapped backwards by a stranger playing social justice warrior. I know I need to, because I gagged when I read this. But there's good out there. Last night, at the restaurant Shoemaker's after dinner, a waiter who was not even ours saw me limping as we were leaving, and came out of the restaurant to flag us down, and showed us how to bypass the stairs and the hotel guest-only doors by using the hidden elevator within the restaurant. He was a true gentleman. July 10th, 2015. My new folding in case of emergencies cane has arrived. She is so fierce, I think she deserves a name. Any suggestions? Interesting to mark how things change. 2 years later, I have to use this cane every time I go out in public. She is fierce. She's black and covered in blue and pink roses. Her name now is Tiffany, because the blue roses are decidedly Tiffany blue. In this time period of this summer, working on the website for the Dollop podcast, thedollop.net, I met Greg Barrett, whose comedy inspired this podcast title, and he met up with the Dollop on tour in Australia, was struck with sudden excruciating pain, and just like that discovered he had cancer. He aggressively fought it and beat it. I am always full of ideas, so I messaged him one day and told him, look, I love doing nice stuff for people. I want to celebrate your beating cancer. I want to celebrate my being able to knit again. And you're a fashionista. I want to knit you a fabulous skirt, yes? Yes, was the resounding answer. Anytime you see a video or photo of Greg wearing a loosely knit black silk scarf that seems to have other colors in it, that's the scarf I made him. The yarn was spun from recycled sari silk. I can't talk today, my apologies. The yarn was spun from recycled sari silk. It's the other colors. I'm not editing this episode. I think this episode needs to be raw, given the subject matter. See, new beginnings for even the yarn. Yarn had new beginnings. I did. Greg did. It's a really cool project. June 29th, 2015. The dogs alert to high fibro and EDS symptom levels, but the pit bull is really socially awkward, which translates to concerned staring. I cannot overemphasize the intensity and duration. Me. I'll be okay, Arlo. Stare. Me. It's okay, Arlo. Moves closer to stare. Arlo, you're a good boy. Stare. I'll add the staring picture I took to the website. This scenario has been repeated over and over. October 23rd, 2015. Sick, tired, but still here. Still pretty. And wearing a hat I made myself a couple of years ago. Booyah, universe. Is that enough empowerment for one morning? Can I nap now? November 3rd, 2015. Life with EDS. I was dozing off over my book last night. Cue the cartoon lullaby. Nee, 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 nee. And so relaxed my joints, as you do. For once I was holding my Kindle instead of propping it on my assistive reading pillow. Lullaby becomes more ominous and also wacky. My exhausted wrist hyperextended, and I slapped myself across the face with my Kindle. Good full dame/broad James Cagney slap. And we end with a wah wah mistake trombone. This post comes with a post from Hope Keepers for the Chronically Ill entitled, "When You Are Feeling Too Fat to Be Photographed." I was preparing to meet up with Greg at his gig in Raleigh and bestow him with his scarf. December 17th, 2015. Timely. I am meeting Greg Saturday night, and inflammation and topical steroids have given me a puffy face and general bloating and weight gain. But then I think, he's your friend because of your words, mind, and sense of humor, and your kindness, and none of that is eclipsed by EDS and fibropudge. Take that, double chin. We're going to Raleigh, and you will stay in the pictures. Jiggle bells, jiggle all the way. January 7th, 2016. Okay, I'm gonna balance being big for the sake of not disturbing anyone with needing to share my feelings. As far as fibro and EDS go, the pain and fatigue are the easy part, comparatively. Both are autoimmune, so my body attacks itself and does not handle germs well. Plus, EDS is a disease of the collagen, which is in all 12 body systems, which means if my body were a car, it would be a 1972 Vega. So bad immune system times 2 plus damaged collagen equals problems with rust and corrosion on my paint job. January 22nd, 2016. Just injured myself in the shower. The shower. Didn't fall, just EDS and fibro pain. Apparently washing my hair is above my current skill level. My lower back went haywire and those systemic disorders rang all the body alarms in response. Had to take Oxy and abandon writing plans, which makes me cranky. Plus the indignity of it all. It's not like I fell on the ice. I washed my hair. So I'll indulge in a rare, complaining, angry meme. You tell him, Sheriff Rick. The accompanying picture is a picture of Rick from The Walking Dead pointing his gun. And it says, "Tell me it doesn't hurt that bad one more time." I'll post it. January 27th, 2016. Validated. Someone in the medical community heard me calling to the hills that my body weight does not match my intake. My internal engine is broken. Something is wrong with my endocrine system. Adrenals, cortisol, metabolism, thyroid damage, something. My startle reflex and panic response is through the roof. I haven't consumed soda in over 2.5 years. I don't remember the last time I ate fast food. I drink a boatload of water. And my brother developed Addison's disease in the womb, which is quite rare. So not only is there a genetic component, but an intense and unusual one. The doc heard me. She really heard me. She respected all my research, she heard my historical data, and she believed my food intake self-report. She has referred me to an endocrinologist to get all possibilities checked out. I can't wait. My top suspect, Hashimoto's. It's not a thyroid disorder, but rather like your immune system blasting and killing your thyroid like an alien in Space Invaders. Maybe multiple unsubs. The unsub turned out to be POTS. February 8th, 2016. I would much rather endure pain at the higher level of the pain scale for an extended period of time than experience the mood symptoms. Guess what I'm dealing with today? EDS is a thug and it better back up before my birthday. March 9th, 2016. Really easy to explain fibro plus EDS. You know those days you go to the work with the flu and you drag through and you barely make it? That's my everyday life. March 3rd, 2016. Does my new parking placard make my butt look fat? March 18th, 2016. This entry will just show how involved being chronically ill is. It's a job, man. 1 specialist appointment down, 5 to go in the next 5 weeks or so. Lumps in my arm, benign. Disturbing but benign. I can now say that I've had my elbow and forearm ultrasounded. Did I make up a word? Rheumatologist also took several vials of my sweet blood for Hashimoto's test. Next up, pain follow-up. Talking about cannabis. Yeah, baby. Only legal in Virginia right now for people with seizure disorders. Darn it. Mammogram, endocrinologist, eyes. Continue testing to make sure the blurriness is due to EDS and not to degeneration. Gynecologist, surgeon from last time. Plus, neuropsychological testing in progress, playing phone tag to set appointment. So basically, I'm a fussy little foreign car, a VW, a Peugeot, cute as a button, needs tinkering every damn day, has to go to special garages for every little thing. But it's worth it, because the neighbors are jealous. Vroom vroom. Looking backwards and forwards is important for mental health and balance, but sometimes it can give you a jolt. Like this. Thanks, Facebook memories. May 5th, 2016. This shows you how fast my body has deteriorated thanks to EDS's doubling down. I don't know what started the shift from mild to severe, but 3 years ago I was exercising every day, twice a day. Yoga at bedtime every night, and either walking or more yoga during the day. This was day 5, but I continued for such a long time and I loved it. Enjoy your body and how it looks and what it can do every single moment. And the memory is May 5th, 2013. Day 5, brisk mile with my exercise partner, Ellie the Dachshund. And it's a photograph of the beginning of the Virginia Blue Ridge Railway Trail. May 5th, 2016. EDS Awareness Month. There are 6 types, which add to the lack of knowledge. I have hypermobility type. I cannot tell you the dismay when after diagnosis I go to a new specialist and I have to spell it, nor the joy and relief when the opposite occurs. Remember, doctors are not authority figures. They work for you. And the meme posted is EDS random fact number 26. When we start developing symptoms, most of our tests come back as normal, and it feels awful. Most people think it's all in our heads, or we give up on finding a diagnosis. August 17th, 2016. Quick doodle for fun. My purse's assistive device. My Mokidogram's better together cross-shoulder bag stays balanced when I use my cane, and it lays flat when still strapped on when I'm seated. Out of my way and the way of medical professionals trying to do their job. And what's in my bag? Anything I might need. From my medical log, which includes emergency infos, all doctors, plus all my meds and appointments, to my Kindle, from dry mouth medicated lozenges, to my guardian doll, which is a treasured gift from Jill and Chase. And yes, I do keep my extra pain meds in a Freud pill case. And I will upload this picture to the website for this episode. October 8th, 2016. Dental work with EDS is insane. I haven't wanted to complain about it, but I had work done 2 weeks ago, and I've been in severe pain ever since. I've been back once already. I go back again on Monday. It's nothing the dentist has done wrong. It's asinine immune system and damaged dysfunctional collagen. And this is the time that my body decides it's too accustomed to my oxy-pain medicine. Breakthrough pain is such a benign term. This is something that's expected to happen, but the timing is just hilarious. So, 3rd dentist appointment on Monday, pain clinic on Tuesday. I hurt every single day, but not like this, at an 8 and a 9, and not in my face and head. That's where I live, man. February 14th, 2017. Turning my old Filofax into a help myself journal. Details of teas and essential oils and how they can assist my meds. Empowerment, y'all. Yeah, I made myself laugh. I do that a lot. The note in the upper right starts with the Katy Perry lyric and ends with my snark. What it says is, baby, you're a firework. Not really, just try not to nap twice in one day. April 20th, 2017. Yesterday's pilgrimage was successful. I feel validated and much safer. Yes, on top of hypermobility, ehlers-danlos syndrome, and fibromyalgia, I have POTS. My new specialist is a superhero. Seriously, if you need help and can travel to Richmond, Virginia, hit up Dr. Sika at VCU. He has several patients that are managing some form of EDS with some form of dysautonomia, which is what POTS is. Basically, it's postural cardiac problems. I stand, and my blood doesn't move with my body, so I feel woozy, I might faint, weird stuff happens. Any postural change. It can be an intense sneeze. It can be me laughing really hard. Anything. It's not cute. I have to take my blood pressure standing and sitting for a week and send it to him. That determines the course of medication we choose. The list on the right is a list of POTS symptoms colored for 3 different places. It represents for me either symptoms that have never been addressed or symptoms that have not been fully addressed by current treatment. Every single one. Thank you, Dr. Sika. Let's do this. I will also add this image to the episode's website entry. And then this was last Monday, Chronic Disease Awareness Day. I have hypermobility type ehlers-danlos, along with POTS, which is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. The reason the EDS mascot is a zebra is that in med school, doctors are taught when you hear hoofbeats, think horses. Well, sometimes hoofbeats do signal a zebra, and that should never be discounted. What does that mean for my everyday life? I feel some kind of pain 24/7. Yes, all the time. When I'm performing my podcast, yes. Laughing with you? Yes. A really good day for me is the day you would waffle on calling in sick from work. Should I or no? I have assistive devices, including a cane, wheelchair, and braces that keep certain joints from bending too far the wrong way too regularly, like my fingers and knees. I don't need all of them all the time. It is painful to me when people fake injury or illness. I walk through fire for the right to say that I'm chronically ill and to get the good parking spaces. I'm stronger now than I ever thought I could be, and I'm a much better, kinder, more spiritual person for being chronically ill. I wouldn't trade it. And I'm writing this down to remind myself when I hit the top of the pain chart next time, because I will forget. Last Wednesday. Can money pay for all the days I lived awake but half asleep? How strange that I feel more alive chronically ill and semi-homebound, typing my thoughts and talking into a microphone. Chronic pain woke me up, and I don't ever want to go back. I will never not love this song. The song mentions zebra flesh. What an odd coincidence. It's primitive radio gods standing by a broken phone booth with money in my hand. I will put links on this episode's entry that simply explain what ehlers-danlos, hypermobility type, POTS, and fibromyalgia are, if you're interested. And know that everything I've read is only a snippet, and only a snippet of what I shared online and with other people at all, other than my best friend. I usually manage to be funny, or at least reasonably calm about expressing myself about setbacks and days when I have plans but my body shut down. But not always. Sometimes there's anger and flat out really ugly crying. But it is really strange magic indeed. Disabled is what I'm supposed to be. I don't understand it either. I mean, I don't want to be in pain 24/7. I'm no masochist and I'm no martyr. But as I said in that last entry, chronic pain woke me up somehow. And I'm really glad to be awake to claim my share of the cupcakes and to help other people find theirs, hopefully. I have a theory that I'd like to air here, if I may. What is it you think that makes you magicians? More silence. He spoke more softly. Is it because you're intelligent? Is it because you are brave and good? Is it because you're special? Maybe. Who knows? But I'll tell you something. I think you're magicians because you're unhappy. A magician is strong because he feels pain. He feels the difference between what the world is and what he would make of it. A magician is strong because he hurt more than others. His wound is his strength. Most people carry that pain around inside them their whole lives until they kill the pain by other means or until it kills them. But you, my friends, you found another way, a way to use the pain, to burn it as fuel for light and warmth. You have learned to break the world that tried to break you. Lev Grossman, The Magicians.